Welcome folks to the channel Wildlife Ranger on YouTube for all things natural history. Today we're going to look at one of the early spring flowers known as opposite-leaved golden saxifrage. And before we engage on our ramble to find it in the videos that follows, let's look at a description of the flower. The opposite-leaved golden saxifrage has no petals. Instead, the flowers, in inverted commas, consisting of the stamen and anther and styles, are located against a backdrop of 4 large green sepals and are quite small, 3 to 5 millimeters in size, so may require a hand lens for close examination. The yellow colour seen at peak flowering times on the dense woodland mats is largely due to the pollen on the anthers. There are 8 stout stamens, and the flower is protected in the 4 tooth-like hooded sepals, which acts as an awning covering the stamen and anther. A common error in identifying this plant is to confuse the sepals with the leaves, and to avoid this happening, one, as stated, should look beneath the bifurcated stem for the configuration around it. The key identification feature of this plant is made by looking at the configuration of the leaves around the stem. In order to do that, you need to look beneath the flower head, in inverted commas, or the green sepals, and look at the arrangement of the leaves below the bifurcated flower stem head. At the base of the anthers, there is a small flower disc which readily fills with nectar, inducing the pollinators such as beetles, ants, and in particular the small woodland flies to a readily available source of nectar. Careful examination with a hand lens will reveal 2 sharp-like styles as shown in this picture. The availability of nectar pools means that insects without long tongues can readily access it. By way of a quick comparison of the confusion species, the alternative leaf golden saxifrage, we look at these annotations to look at the key differences. It immediately becomes apparent that the leaves are not paired in the alternative plant and that the leaves are kidney-shaped with the stalk slightly off-centre in a heart-shaped leaf. So the leaves are subtly different. In the slide that follows, which can be paused, we table some of the finer botanical features which can be studied in more detail. So let's have a quick summary before we venture out into the field. The opposite-leaf golden saxifrage is a low-lying ground layer plant which forms dense mats in spring of 5 to 15 centimeters above the ground layer. It is only one potential confusion species, which is the alternative leaf golden saxifrage, and the distinction is the arrangement of leaves around the stem. The alternative is less common as compared to the opposite, but both these plants can occur together. The habitat that we find this plant in, as we shall soon see, is damp, shady places, often by stream sides or damp woodland or woodland flushes. It is potentially an indicator of ancient woodland, and the plant flowers between April and July in terms of its phenology or flowering period. The plant itself is known to have been pollinated by beetles, ants, and ground flying insects such as small flies, and even potentially snails. The habitat in which we will trek today, Sunday the 29th of March 2025, is a Yorkshire semi-ancient woodland running through a steep-sided valley or clough, at which in the bottom is a small woodland stream, to which we are going to follow the stream and look for the plants in question, and where we will come upon the saxifrage as well as 1 or 2 other early spring plants. So folks, welcome to my channel Wildlife Ranger, where today we're going to look at some early spring botany. We are particularly looking for a plant called opposite-leaf golden saxifrage, and we hope to distinguish between a confusion species which includes the alternative-leaved golden saxifrage, to give them their Latin names: Chrysosplenium, oppositifolium, and Chrysosplenium alternicifolium. And we're going to look at it in 2 capacities. One is phenology, phenology being the periodic study of plants or animals, and in the context of botany, phenology basically means the flowering period. As you can see from the scenery behind me, we are in this beech woodland in early spring, so there is no immediate canopy above our head, and these little saxifrages are opportunistic, flowering before the light is blocked out by the denser oak and beech woodland. So we have had a look now at the habitat, which we will see as follows to be woodland flushes as we make our way down this little stone coach lane where there is drainage to its side, and we will make our way further up the steep sided clough and look at some further stands in situ as the water runs off the steep slopes in marshy areas. Okay, so just as we were videoing, just show you a very quick overview to some of the early spring botany that we can see here. So these are the newly emergent leaves of ransoms or garlic. Literally very nice to the taste is garlic, wild garlic I should say. So that's ransoms. As we move along here, we can see this lovely piece of sunshine that we've had. We have lesser celandine flowering. Lesser celandine is a flower of the buttercup family, and there you can see it. Very early flowering plant, really distinguishable, like a buttercup, heart-shaped leaves, and we'll be covering that in a few videos that follow. Moving on down, we have ubiquitous stands of primrose. So just in this little space, even though it's early spring, Sunday the 29th of March, as you can see as we look up into the beech and the oak beyond, there's very little, no leaves in fact on the trees as yet. In a very short time, we will have an explosion or burst of lime green verdure as the newly emerged vegetation kicks in for spring, and as we move towards summer, that vegetation darkens and becomes a darker green. So this is where we're at here in a small woodland in Yorkshire. It's a steep-sided woodland it's a steep-sided woodland with a stream in a valley known as a clough. So quick overview of it here, and we will be on to look at the habitat as we find it. So once again, ramsons, lesser celandine, primrose. Shot, we can see the reason why it's called opposite leaved. We have a bifurcated stem just beneath the flower, splitting into two opposite each other, which makes that the opposite leaved golden saxifrage, or to give its Latin name, Chrysosplenium oppositifolium. And here we have the stand, which is growing at the side of the road next to this static and flowing water, which is being flushed out from drainage and this steep little road. So that's the habitat that we find this plant in. As we go further down and back, we're going to look at the steep-sided wooded clough, where we'll see the same thing again. This plant colonising well before the tree canopy, so it's something of an opportunistic little plant. It's flowering before the canopy becomes dark on the ground layer. It's a ground layer plant. It is between 5 and 10 centimetres above the ground, or 5 and 15 centimetres, and the opposite leaved golden saxifrage is a lot more common than the alternate leaf golden saxifrage. So we've just stopped here for a moment just to put into perspective what we'll be doing. We'll be going into this little stream, which is called Roydshall Beck, and we will be going further up the little river valley, which is also known as a clough in Yorkshire. So this little stream is very interesting in so much as the runoff from the slopes will be where we find the opposite leaf golden saxifrage. So just to put that into perspective, this little river goes through the old coach road packhorse bridge. As you can see, the trees are pretty barren at the moment because it's early spring, and of course these opportunistic plants want to get flowered before the tree canopy. So what we'll be doing will be walking up this little valley to where we'll find some further stands of these opposite leaf golden saxifrage, just to illustrate the habitat that they're found in. So we reach a spot in the wooded ravine where later in April the ground mats will glow golden yellow. So here we can see, if you have a look, where we've come up the stream, and we have come into an area where we're sort of in the valley to begin with, and below us you can see the stand of alternative leaved saxifrage and how it likes, as we follow it around, how it likes muddy water. We'll just double check that this still is opposite leaved, and it is, because if we look we can see the bifurcation on the stems. We have changed location from the side of the old coach road, and we've come onto the woodland flush here where we're getting a spill off of water from the adjacent slopes. And if I just avoid walking on the stands wherever possible, you can see how prolific it is here. And if we look up there, you can see the source of that water coming down all the way through and going back down into the stream there. So it's a runoff from these slopes, and these plants have found a clear area and quite an extensive area to establish themselves on the ground floor. As you can see, they rise between 5 and 15 centimetres above the ground layer, and this area is by and large colonised because of the mud, the water and the constant woodland flush, pretty much colonised by the the opposite leaved saxifrage. So as we just make our way back down, as fortune has it, we have found the wooden enemy colony, which seems to have re-established itself from the main path, which has become overused, and there were quite a bit of wooden enemy on the other side there, which sadly has been lost simply by overuse, as you can see from how those paths are used. Very insensitive management of the woodland by people who ought to know better. But there again, we're here just to look at the saxifrage and the slope, the hill slope, where there is substantial runoff and boggy areas, give us this mat or ground layer of opposite leaved golden saxifrage. A few other clues here are the rushes, which should tell you my boots are wet and muddy, and obviously some wood anemone there. Okay folks, thank you very much for watching. That's about it from me. If you can please like and subscribe this channel, there will be many more plants brought to you in the coming months. If you also want to learn about this plant in 1 minute, please visit the YouTube playlist where we have the 1 minute shorts on all of the species. So if you'd like to have this video in 1 minute, please visit the playlist on shorts. Until the next one folks, stay safe and enjoy wildlife and natural history.
And I think of you now as a dream that I had long ago, in a kingdom lost to time. In the forest of evening the archer is bending a bow, and I see you bring him bread and wine. Down the legions of years the invaders have taken this land and bent you to their will, and the memories fade of the ancients and all that they had, though the magic lingers round you still. Oh, who would walk the stony roads of Merlin's time and keep the watch along the borderline?